law prohibits employers from discriminating against workers based on their gender. The question is, does it also protect sexual orientation and gender identity? That's what the Supreme Court justices are trying to decide. First, there are two cases where men were reportedly fired from their jobs for no other reason than being gay.
You could come in happy about your wedding and be fired for it. And that's not something that someone should have to hide that part of themselves.
And the third case is a transgender woman who was fired from her job at a funeral home during her transition when she told her boss she would start dressing as a woman under the company's dress code. Now, her case is the first Supreme Court case to deal with transgender rights under U.S. law. All three cases getting a lot of attention, as you can see outside the Supreme Court today. That's also where cameras caught up with the attorney defending the funeral home owners, who think civil rights protections for gender should not be extended.
Title VII prohibits sex discrimination, and if you start adding these other categories and you don't have protection for women in showers and restrooms, for women clients of overnight shelters, for women on sports teams, it's going to cause harm to millions of people. That's not the role the Supreme Court should be playing.
So you can try to gain some insight into what the judges are thinking based on their questions that they ask inside the courtroom. It all comes down to how they are going to define job discrimination on the basis of sex as it's written in the law. Now, some of the conservative justices are questioning whether this is even a job for them or if Congress should act to explicitly include sexual orientation and gender identity into the law.
We can't wait for Congress to get its act together and actually get the law passed. People are being discriminated against right now, and they're being fired right now.
It is important to note the House already did pass the Equality Act, which does include those definitions and protections. But the Republican-controlled Senate and Majority Leader Mitch McConnell will not bring it to the floor.
So what about here in Washington? Are there protections here within the state level for LGBTQ employees?
Yeah, there are. Our state already has protections for these people in place. In fact, the governor was really quick to point that out today, tweeting, LGBTQ rights are human rights. No matter what happens at the Supreme Court today, that doesn't change. And let me be clear. In Washington state, we will never stop protecting our LGBTQ plus community. Those protections, though, not nationwide, and some religious groups are fighting to keep it that way, saying it'll hinder religious freedom and hiring in religious bodies like churches. Now, this is just one high-profile case. There are so many on the docket coming up. I'll be back in about an hour. 5:30, we'll be breaking down some of those other cases to watch.
All right, we'll see you then, Simone. Thank you. Well, President Trump